Good evening and welcome to the 2026 annual meeting for the River Valley Unified School District. Article 13, which was voted by Australian ballot, we have the results of that. What do you plan to tell us?
Hi, folks. We commingled and counted the ballots at 6 p.m. In Dover, Lindsay Campbell received 46 votes. We had two write-ins. Mark Schauber received 2 votes and Tom Oakley received 2 votes. In Wardsboro, Kate Rideout received 48 votes and Tom Oakley received 1 vote.
All right, so I'm just going to go over a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I need, by a show of hands, the Wardsboro voters who are in the room right now. Raise them high.
Okay.
Okay, put your hands down. And now I need all the Dover voters to raise their hands and keep them up.
Good.
We won't count the small hands. Okay, you can put your hands down. And finally, is there anyone here who is not a Dover or Wardsboro voter?
Reporters.
Okay, we have a couple of reporters.
So I got 2.
Yeah,
Nobody else. Perfect.
all right.
Thank you.
So if those of you who are not Dover voters or Wardsboro voters are going to wish to speak on any of the agenda this evening, we need to vote to allow you to speak. So do you have an interest in speaking on that motion? No? Okay. All right. So we don't have to do that part. All right. So what's going to happen is I'm going to call for someone to move each article onto the floor. Someone will second it. Then normally what would happen is the people who made the motion and seconded it would have the opportunity to be the first ones to speak on the motion. However, what we're going to do is have the board members address the motions first, after which the people who made the motion and seconded will be given an opportunity to speak first. Okay? So, and I would also ask that when you speak, if you would please stand and give your name before you start speaking, even if you've already given your name, just so consistency. All right, so Article 1, would someone please move to elect a moderator to serve for the fiscal year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027? Would someone nominate someone to do that?
I'd like, Rich Warner, I'd like to nominate Sarah Shippey to serve as our moderator for the fiscal year July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2027.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes seem to have it. All right. I would entertain a motion to set a stipend of $200 per year for the moderator. Someone like to move that to the floor?
Under Kurt, I'd like to motion what you just said.
And a second?
Second.
Ian Campbell.
Ian Campbell.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, I would entertain nominations for a clerk to serve for fiscal year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027.
Marcus Lee Dover, I'd like to nominate Andrew McLean.
All right, do we have a second of Andrew McLean for the clerk? Just say your name again?
Oh, sorry, Kendra Urquhart.
Kendra Urquhart, okay. So we have moved and seconded for Andy McLean to serve as the clerk for fiscal year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I would like to entertain a motion to set a stipend of $1,200 for the clerk.
I'll move that. set aside Marco's meeting, set a stipend for the clerk for $1,200.
Thank you, Marco. Second on that?
Deirdre Benson, I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. So the motion is to set a stipend of $1,200 for the clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. And also to set a stipend of $400 for an assistant clerk to be appointed and duties used at the discretion of the clerk.
I'll move that.
Okay. That was Andy McLean.
Jeremy Strauss, second.
All right. And since you're the clerk, would you like to speak to this briefly?
Can't run elections in the school district without Wardsboro, and Michelle's awesome, and deserves at least $400 for the work that she does.
So we are not appointing the assistant. We are leaving that to the clerk's discretion, but we are saying that we will pay that person $400. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. And a nomination for treasurer to serve for the fiscal year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027.
I'll nominate Marco Tellini.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Lori Goldberg.
Lori, second. Is there any discussion on this? All right, so we're voting to elect Marco Tellini to serve as treasurer for the fiscal year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. And I need a motion to set a stipend of $2,400 for the treasurer.
I move to set a stipend for $2,400 for the treasurer.
All right, and do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Jeremy? All right, is there any discussion? All right, the motion is to set a stipend of $2,400 for the treasurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The next is, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District set the annual stipend for school directors at $2,500 and for the chair at $3,000? I need someone to move that to the floor, please. I will start calling on people if you don't raise your hands.
Randy Capitani, I'll move to set the annual stipend for school directors at $2,500 and $3,000 for the chair.
Thank you, Randy. Do I have a second?
Neil Cutler, I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion? Does the board wish to speak to it?
No, it's the same that we've done for the last several years. I think it carried over. I think both Wardsboro and Dover had done that previous to River Valleys.
All right, so the motion is, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District set the annual stipend for school directors at $2,500 and for the chair at $3,000? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. And I need the Article 5. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District approve mileage reimbursement at the federal reimbursement rate for the month in which the mileage occurred? I need someone to make that motion.
I move to approve
Your name,
mileage.
please?
Alan Block. I move to approve mileage reimbursement, the federal reimbursement rate for the month in which the mileage occurred.
Right. Can I get a second?
I'll second. Amber Hart.
All right. Does the board wish to address this?
Yeah, this is mainly mileage for staff and for if they have to do something in their personal vehicles for the school, and gas prices go up and down, and so we actually many years ago just set it at whatever the federal government sets a rate at. Lori will tell me, I think it was 53 cents, but it's probably gone up a little.
It's like 7.25, it's like 72 cents.
72 cents, but it does come down too when the price of gas goes down. And it's not a huge part of the budget.
All right. Did anyone wish to speak on this motion? All right. So the motion is, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District approve mileage reimbursement at the federal reimbursement rate for the month in which the mileage occurred? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Article 6. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District approve the school board to move any surplus from the 2025-2026 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future use as approved by the voters? Could I get that move to the floor, please?
Lori O'Hearn, I move that the school district approves the school board to move any surplus from the 2025-26 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future use as approved by the voters.
Thank you. And do I have a second? Thank you. Would the board like to speak to that?
So this is something that we started doing when the state of Vermont gave us Act 60. And what we do is basically the state says it's their money they're giving us, which is very nice of them. They forgot that they took it from us to begin with. So what we've asked for is, ever since that, we've always asked that if there is any surplus at the end of the year, and we don't know what that is because it's a moving target, we ask that the voters allow it to go into our general reserve fund, and it's just one maybe makes it a little harder if the state ever decides they want to claw that money back. So we don't just spend it, we don't have parties with it. We talked about a school board retreat in the Caribbean in February, but we got kiboshed on that. So what we do is, if you'll see in future articles, one of the articles we asked to fund some reserve building and transportation reserves, and we're not going to raise taxes for that. We're going to use that reserve and we're going to put it into separate accounts. And we also, another article, we're going to ask you to move money from the general reserve to help offset the tax is this year, and that's another use of it. But we always ask you folks before we just use it, it is your money, it's not ours. Thank you.
Is there any questions or comments from the floor? All right, so the motion is, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District approve the school board to move any surplus from the 2025-2026 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future use as approved by the voters? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Article 7, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District set the annual tuition rate to approved independent schools at $23,050, which is the Burton sending school tuition for the 2026-2027 school year? Would someone like to move that to the floor?
I move the
Article 7.
Article 7, there you go.
Can you read it out for us?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Dang, I thought we were getting cheap
Nope.
there. To set the annual tuition rate to the approved independent schools at $23,050, which is the Burton sending school tuition for the 2026-2027 school year.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Lindsay Campbell, I'll second.
All right, would the board like to speak to this?
So this gets confusing for people a lot of times, so I actually brought a copy of the law this year. So basically, the state of Vermont says if you don't run a public high school, that you have to pay tuition to a public high school. So any public high school that any student from Dover or Wardsboro wants to go to, we would pay the tuition. So if you wanted to go to Middlebury and that public tuition was $30,000, we would pay that. If you want to go to Leland and Gray, it may be $21,000. There's all different numbers. That's what they do is the state says, here's the statewide average tuition. All the tuition from all the high schools, here's the average. And it's usually less than a lot of the schools around here. Sometimes as much as $2,000 less. But it can also says, the law says the district shall pay an amount not to exceed the average announced tuition of Vermont Union High Schools for the years of attendance for its students enrolled in an approved independent non-functioning as Vermont Career Center or any higher amount approved by the electorate in an annual or special meeting warned for that purpose. So this is something we do every year. The board has not said that we don't want to pay the higher rates. The board has basically just has to bring this question forth. So because it was petitioned in both Wardsboro before River Valleys and Dover, we told the voters that we would always put it on as long as it's approved every year. We would put it on for the following year. The $23,050 is a little bit higher than your average tuitions. If you look on page 22 of your book, I believe it tells you the what page?
22.
Yeah, page 22 at the bottom. It gives you the different tuition rates. Brattleboro is around 20. I'm sorry, 19.5, right? Brattleboro
That's
Middle School.
2026,
Oh.
2027 estimates, or the blue.
I'm sorry.
20,000.
Pardon?
20,000.
Thank you. I'm having a really rough day. This
It's
is
the
my
blue
fourth
column.
meeting.
Just look at the blue column.
So, but those are your numbers, just for point of reference. And it is something that has to be voted. And what the tuition rate does do is it allows, Burton says that if you agree to pay their tuition rate, they'll take any of our students. They won't say that we're full or we don't have room in that class or that grade. Usually Mark comes, the headmaster, for ever since we've been River Valleys, and even when we were Dover, has always come. He isn't here today. I don't see him, but, so again, we present it and you folks get to vote on it.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right. So the motion is, shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District set the annual tuition rate to approved independent schools at $23,050, which is the Burton sending school tuition for the 2026-2027 school year? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 8. Shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District approve the school board to expend $6,852,208, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year? And then the comment that goes with that is the River Valleys Unified School District estimates that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in a per pupil spending of $17,456.50, which is 2.26% higher than per pupil education spending for the current year. So whoever's going to make the motion, you don't have to read the comment, just the actual motion. Is there anyone that would move this to the floor, please?
Offer to move Article 8 to the floor as written.
I'm going to make
Do I
you,
have to read the whole thing, Andy?
not the second paragraph, just the first one.
Shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District approve the school board to expend $6,852,208, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year?
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second, Jeremy Shaw.
Would you like to say
Yeah. So if you go to page 15 in your book, which I think is,
your hand
pardon?
15 on your hand.
50, or in your handout, some people have books, I'm sorry, just got corrected. So that has a basic summary of the considerations. There were some reductions and some additions. The net is about $300,000 less. There's some minor reductions, and there was some additional. Healthcare was projected to go up 7%. I think we saw something last night that said 10 or 12%. Again, remember, we make these budgets pretty early in the year, so we don't always know the numbers. And then if you look at page 16 through 22, I believe, through 21, those are all the different line items. Again, we haven't changed a lot. We have seen a little increase in the number of students in the Dover building and a little decrease in the Wardsboro building. We had talked about, and some people had suggested that maybe we should do some combining of some services or some schools or some grades. The problem with that is it's we kind of had a bunch of things thrown at us late last year with Act 73 and with the district maps that we were getting thrown around. And one map we were over in Bennington, and another map we were in Wyndham. So we also felt that with the uncertainty in the air, it was not a good time to think about making a lot of big changes, because they'll probably set a baseline, and if we set a baseline in one building, we may never be able to go back to that. If we remove some grades from one building and put them in another building, it may be more difficult to go back to that. So we want to we think we can get away with one more year and do a wait and see. The actual overall reduction in the budget is about $60,000, I think 68. But if you look at the bottom of page 21, it does show you there is a slight reduction, but the problem with the slight reduction means we're also getting less money from the state too. So it doesn't always equate into a tax decrease because the budget decreased. We think it's a really solid budget, and I can look at everybody in the face and honestly say some boards set an amount to reduce the budget. They say we want 10%, we want no increase, we want whatever we want. We do charge our superintendent to go to our administrators to go to the buildings and come up with an educationally sound budget and present that. And we look at the budget and we adopt an operating budget before we look at it, what it's gonna do to our taxes. Because if we're basing it on taxes and what we think we can afford or not afford, we're not doing the right by our students. So the only other 2 points I want to make is, some of you may have seen or heard that we did have an SU supervisor union meeting last night. And we did find there, since that budget was presented, and that budget has to be done much earlier. That budget's usually finalized the end of November, beginning of December. And when we finalize that budget, there's some changes. The superintendent was working on some changes to our MTSS and some other efficiencies that have been started by the previous
What is MTSS?
Oh, I'm sorry, multi-tiered,
Systems of support.
thank you. So, yeah, there's a lot of education loves. And so anyways, we, there was some reductions and we thought that maybe we should look into that. But again, the budget's a lot different now than it was, or yeah, things are different now than they were when we first presented this budget. And we think there may be more secondary students that we didn't account for. So we're not gonna, if those of you remember in Dover, we would make changes at the last minute. We'd ask for amendments on the budget. But we feel pretty confident that we have sufficient amount of resources with this budget to cover everything we need to do to present a very similar education to what we did last year. And we would ask that you consider moving that budget forward. The only other thing I want to mention is when you go to page, go in the back of your book to page, I had it written down here, I don't know where it went to. Page 23, which is the projected tax rate. The other thing that's happened, and one of the reasons we put our meetings off later than a lot of the other schools do, is what they decide in Montpelier really can really have a major effect on our tax rate. So on that page, we were showing projected tax rate of, for Dover of $2.58 if you approve this budget. And actually with the yield, and what we did was we took the lowest yield. We hope it's going to be higher, but the lowest yield that was proposed or bantered around by either the House or the Senate of 91.70, the yield being how much they give us per our equalized pupil, which is that made up number when they take all the pupils and divide them, and we come up with something like 198.72. We believe we're going to have more income from that. So we're recommending that if we move some money out, which is a future article, that we're looking at a tax rate in Dover to go from $2.169 to $2.25.3, which is an 8.4 cent increase. And also the Wardsboro, because their CLA is quite a bit higher than in Dover. Wardsboro CLA is up around 112%, and Dover's is at 76%. Wardsboro would go from $1.46.6 to $1.52.7. I'm sorry, what? $1.52.7. No, I know, that's what I'm saying, it's a different number. Those
Okay.
numbers are bad, that's why I'm giving you these new numbers.
I apologize.
Yeah. So in Dover, the estimated tax rate with this lower yield, with the yield that we're seeing the lowest one. So we're hoping that when they end their session sometime in May, that the yield is higher, which would mean that rate should come down even more. But again, we can't predict the future. So we appreciate you and any questions that you may have.
Rich, first of all, thank you guys for a very responsible budget. Slight reduction in today's world is actually really good. My question is the excess spending threshold. What number was that calculated on? Because the Senate is really looking at reducing that threshold from 118% to 112%. I assume that's calculated at 118%.
Yes.
So if the Senate gets their number through, that number could go up even more, is that correct?
Yeah, but
So-
again, I think we're gonna be in good shape because we are gonna ask you later for money to help
Will
buy
that
us
offset-
down.
That's what I was getting to, will that offset some of that?
Yeah, again, we can't predict what they're gonna do, but we also hope the yield goes up too, and that's what they balance, you know, if they do their excess spending, lower, they may not raise the
Yeah.
yield as high.
I think it's really, just as a comment, I think it's interesting that the governor and the legislature want to keep school spending down, and then they go and do that, which won't keep school spending down.
And a lot of schools have already passed budgets.
Absolutely.
So as an aside, Saturday, there was a meeting with a lot of the Wyndham County legislators, both our senators. Laura was there, Emily from Newfane, and a lot of the Brattleboro, and I think a Vernon rep. And if you want to really see something that will really scare you, it was recorded by BC, our gentleman right here recorded it. Go online and watch it because it's going to make some big changes, especially in our resort towns in Dover and Wardsboro. And if you thought Act 60 was scary, this will give you worse nightmares than that ever did.
This was recorded and it's on BCTV?
Yeah.
Great.
Little plug for BCTV.
Yeah, people should watch it.
Yeah, you really should.
Alan Block, I'll stand up. Because I'm gonna ask you guys to vote no on this budget for one really simple reason. It cuts the Spanish program from 2 days a week at Dover to 1 day a week at Dover. And the Spanish program is sort of the only thing that Dover has with IB being suspended and possibly being voted down. It's kind of the only thing that Dover has that sets it apart, to have foreign language for kids that age. It's also something that's super close to my heart. I speak a couple languages, and learning Spanish as a kid opened my world up in wild ways, and I've gotten to travel all over the world and work all over the world because I speak a few languages. It's also something that my kid and her friend, who are both fourth graders, told me, Dad, it's the only place, she told me this tonight actually, she said it's the only place, it's the only class where we learn about history. Because the teacher asks us a question in Spanish and then we answer and then we discuss the history of Spain or Mexico or America or something. And it's the only place we really learn social studies. It's not really a subject in fourth grade or third or second. And you know, reducing it from 2 days to 1 day is not just a reduction. It's, as you can understand, it's hard enough to get a 2 day a week employee, but to get a 1 day a week employee, regardless of whether it's the current employee or a different one, can be nearly impossible because who's going to do a job for 1 day a week when they have to drive to do it? So it's one of the few things that kids who get bored in class, finish early, need extra things to stimulate them. It's one of the few things they hold on to. It's one of the few things they all love. I think it would be a disservice to all the kids in the district of every level to not have that really special feature as part of the budget. So I would hope you vote no and ask the board to reopen the budget.
Can I make a point of order? Yeah, so you don't have to vote no on the budget. You can make a motion to amend the budget.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do I have to save that for later or do that now?
No, you can,
Well,
it's
if we're
when
gonna
you
vote
have
on
the
budget
floor.
now, we have to make the amendment now.
Okay, well, anyway, the line item is like $18,000 for the additional 0.2 plus benefits or whatever, I think.
So you would make a motion.
I'm gonna
to amend.
move that we increase the budget to $18,000, put that 0.2 back in. And otherwise, you know, I was there for all of it. I was there watching her work late into the night. You guys have done a really, really hard job. And you've done a great job. It's just one thing that I think is too easily overlooked and it's really valuable.
I'm just gonna hold for 1 second because I'm gonna ask my clerk a question.
Yes. So, Alan, you can make an amendment to raise the budget number by the number that would allow the board to decide to have this position. Whether the board has to do that or not, I'm no expert. But if I were you, I would make an amendment to increase the budget number by, would you say 18,000? 18,000. And then if you get a second and we vote yes, the board has the money to do that, and the recommendation of this group, whether they're bound by that or what their action will be, I don't know, but that's what you can do.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna move to amend this budget upwards by $18,000.
All right, and do I have a second for that amendment? I got two of you going. I saw her first, I apologize. Give me your name again?
Rebecca McGrail.
Rebecca McGrail. Seconds the motion. So now what's gonna happen, we're gonna discuss the amendment. We're gonna vote on the amendment. And if it passes, then we go back and vote on the original motion with the amended number. It's not, we're not voting now, the first thing we vote on is the amendment, we're not voting on the whole motion. Okay?
So I would say that, no, the board does not have to follow, the board has bottom line. You're not voting us each line item like you do on the town budget. You vote us a bottom line budget. But I think that I cannot speak for the other 5 members, but we've always listened to what the voters said. So if you vote the money, we're not gonna spend it on that Caribbean cruise, I promise you.
18,000 would be enough.
Well, it would be for me.
Just for you. Yeah, so the vote does not have the force to make them do it, but it allows the recommendations from the floor to be considered by the board. And your faith in the board would let you believe that they would follow through. So I have a motion and a second for the amendment. Do we have any discussion on the amendment? Your name?
Liz Latorella.
Okay.
I'm a former language immersion teacher, and so I fully value the benefit.
Could you stand up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Fully value the benefit of foreign language in our schools. And because Wardsboro lost their Spanish teacher last year and it wasn't replaced, that felt like a big loss for our kids. Was it ever discussed that we could hire a Spanish teacher that could go between both schools and provide both schools with Spanish immersion and still get to have that worthwhile full-time position, but working across both schools?
The position would be more, it's not quite a full-time position. And also at the Wardsboro campus, we made a very conscious decision with the approval of all the voters from both Dover and Wardsboro to have a separate focus, and that was intentionally done so that if the state ever said, oh, look, you got Wardsboro here and Dover there, and they're a mile and a half apart, even though they're connected by dirt roads, we want to have something different so that it wasn't like both schools were exactly the same. So that was one of the reasons why it was easier. We didn't concentrate on foreign language in the IB stuff in the Wardsboro campus. We did that in the Dover campus, and that was pre-existing. There was a lot of discussion about making both buildings have the same focus.
I do remember a little bit of discussion of, should we push to hire a Spanish teacher at Wardsboro, should we not? But I feel like the timing of that was kind of off, and not everybody was, I don't feel like we were all fully having discussions about it. That's why I'm just wondering now, did we overlook something when we were making those decisions, and is that something that we would want to reconsider? Rectify, because I think part of his point was he was saying it isn't worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, wait a minute. Can I ask you to, are you done with your comment?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Question.
We still have that open. If we can find a body, we would do that.
What we would do that, meaning we would possibly.
If there was a person who would fill the position, we have Kate reminded, we do have the position.
Well, we had it
Okay.
in last year's budget.
And that's why we didn't
weren't
do it.
able to find a human to fill that, because at Wardsboro, like you're saying, it was a smaller thing. We weren't able to find a person to come in for 1 day a week to do Spanish in Wardsboro.
I remember that.
Okay, excuse me. This is not a conversation you need to be called on, okay? Sorry. So I need to ask if there's anyone else who wants to join the conversation before we go back to this person, because everybody is supposed to have an opportunity to speak. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just basically picking up on part of the point he was making was it's hard to find someone to come if they're only doing 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and I just thought if we work together, would that solve a problem? Simply.
So the question was, would that solve the problem if we had?
We could do that now. We haven't been able to find the body to fill the position.
But if we're amending to increase the budget, but our problem is we don't have a body, I don't know, I'm just trying to understand the logic.
So we had a person who was willing to fill the .2 at the Dover campus, but they did not want to fill the .1 in Wardsboro, and we were unable to find anybody to fill that position. And at the recommendation of the administration, they repurposed that money for this budget coming up.
Right. Did anyone else have anything they wish to add? All right. So I am going to ask for a vote on the motion to increase the budget by $18,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it appears the ayes have it. So now we are looking at a budget of, we've amended Article 8.
Yes.
So the total budget is now $6,860,208. So do we have any questions or comments on that item?
More a point of order, Madam Moderator. Since the second paragraph of this article is advisory, those numbers will change slightly with the additional 18,000. And as the original maker of the motion, I will ask that rather than recalculate those, we accept that they will change and go up slightly.
Thank you. Sure that's right?
Well, yeah, they will, because we're adding 18,000.
No, I know,
Divide that
but
by-
I'm just,
So the per pupil expense will go up, and the 2.26 will go up slightly. I mean, you got 200 students divided by $18,000.
right, right.
20,000. I don't know, I can't, I get a headache. Look at that.
Okay, I'm just double checking something. Actually, I think the revised number is $6,870,280.
260, you're right, sorry.
Okay, gotta carry the one.
Yeah. Told you I have a wicked headache.
All of us who learn to do
Do I have
math
to
before
read it with
calculators.
the new number?
I'm sorry?
Do I have to read it again with the new number?
No, we're just, what we're going to, so the amended motion will read, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District approve the school board to expend $6,870,208, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. And the advisory comment the numbers in that will be amended based on the addition of the $18,000. So is there now anyone who wishes to ask questions or comment on that budget? Name please, Sheldon.
So if the amendment, the article to vote down the IB program goes through, what's that going to do is that going to lower that number? Because I know there's a lot of payments for that.
Yeah, again, it's not an exacting budget, it's a best guesstimate for the next year and a half. So we would not recommend any changes in the budget for that. But next year, if the voters decide not to have it, then we would just not have those numbers in the budget. There's different parts of that in different parts of the budget. So it's not just like $10 comes off the budget or 18,000. So that's why whatever you all decide, we'll just adjust with it for next year, and then we won't have to spend that money.
So it would go back into like the general reserve fund?
No, it would just stay in the operating budget, and then at the end of next year,
Then it would go into
this time next year in Wardsboro, we'll ask you to any surplus. It will be part of the surplus if we have a surplus, and then it goes into the general, and then you tell us what to do with it again.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah, Ian Dwayne. I just have a question about the physical education teachers. The line item, what was the reason for the reduction of money in that? It went from 45 or 4729.
On page 15?
On page 18.
Didn't
Page
they
18?
also make a change in Wardsboro? There was, I think we made a change in Wardsboro too. Is that,
Yes.
because didn't, like, the person was doing like partial retirement,
The line items on
There's no
page
change to the
18, the
student-
summary is on
student
15.
Like right in the middle of the page.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Does he have a line item number?
Can you give us the line item number?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, it's 1113.
On what page? I'm sorry.
On page 18.
Yeah.
1113.
Physical education. Budgeted.
Are they just dropping today or what?
Oh, it's,
It's for Wardsboro.
Well, no, Wardsboro, like, there, I don't think there's any change in the amount of student time, but like the teacher in Wardsboro who was doing it, I think, and if somebody from Wardsboro, correct me if I'm wrong, they are taking partial retirement, I think, and so they're reducing their hours, and then a different position is picking up the health element that they were teaching. So that is the thing. Is that accurate? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
your name?
Janet Rivers.
Okay.
It's also because at Dover, I took over the health portion of our PE health program. Okay.
Yeah.
So is everybody clear on that? Do we need it restated so that, I wasn't sure if everybody could hear what was said. Are we good?
But there has not been any reduction in the amount of student time that they spend in physical education. That is the important element.
All right. So do we have any other questions or comments on Article 8? All right, seeing none. Shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District approve the school board to expend $6,870,208, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The ayes appear to have it. The budget passes. Article 9. Shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District fund its capital reserve funds in the following amounts for the 2026-2027 school year? Capital improvements. Buildings, $100,000. Transportation, $20,000, with the funds coming from the general reserve fund. Would someone please move that to the floor?
I'll move it.
Cheryl.
Oh, go ahead.
Scott Sally?
So we move Article 8, Scott
Nine.
Sally, sorry. Article
Nine.
9, there we go. Shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District fund its capital reserve funds in the following amounts for the 2026-2027 school year? Capital improvements, buildings, $100,000, transportation, $20,000, with the funds coming from the general reserve fund.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Jeremy Stroud, second.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right.
So if you go to page 26 of your book, that's our capital budget page. And we have a building capital budget, a transportation capital budget, and we have the general reserve where we dump the money in and then you guys tell us what we can do with it. Last year and the year before, we spent quite a bit of money on the roof on the Dover building. We did a furnace and some water system repairs at the Wardsboro campus. This year, we don't have any planned expenditures. Our furnaces, we do know in the Dover building are, original to the addition. And that's 30 years now. Is it 95?
That's 30.
Yeah.
30 and a half.
30 and a half. So, but oil boilers seem to last longer than gas boilers. So we are asking you to fund it, and we're asking you to take money out of that general reserve again, so that way, if we didn't and we took it out of, we'd had to raise it in taxes, obviously be another $120,000. The other thing is, and those of you that watch our meetings or been to our meetings, I lost my comrade on the Electric Avenue bus, but Dwight did get us a free bus. So we do have, we didn't have to pay for a bus, so we have enough almost to buy another bus if we have to do that in the future. So that's why we're only asking for $20,000 in that line item. Thank you.
Were there any questions or comments?
How's the electric bus doing now that the weather's gotten better?
Ask Dwight.
Why don't we, can we cover that under other business? I mean, it's relevant, but in a general way.
There's not enough in the capital to buy another electric bus. How's that?
Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Chinese ones.
All right, so, Article 9. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District fund its capital reserve funds in the following amounts for the 2026-2027 school year? Capital improvements, buildings, $100,000, transportation, $20,000, with the funds coming from the general reserve fund. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, wow.
It passed.
He was excited.
He was, I guess. All right, motion passes. Article 10. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $470,000? May I have someone move that, please?
Kendra Urquhart, I move shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw the money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $470,000.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Could I have a second, please? All right, would you like to speak to?
Yeah, so this is something that we've been doing for a lot of years now. And what we're doing is we're kind of buying down the tax rate, very similar to what the governor and the legislature does with excess funds. When they buy down, they either increase the yield or buy down the rates. We've tried to spend about a third of our reserves in the past, the general reserve, what's left in there. This year, we're looking, if things hold, maybe around 300,000 in a surplus, but 10 students can move in for the last couple months of the school year, and so it would be lower, but some students can move out, so it'd be higher again. And that's why we always say whatever the balance is at the end of the year. I would, though, love to entertain if somebody want to make a friendly amendment to maybe increase that number to 500,000. That would cover Allen's 18,000 and give us an extra 12 because I was hoping that the Senate was going to go home early and leave us alone, but Randy does make a good point that, we don't know what they're going to do. And I know it's an election year, and usually they don't hurt us too bad in election years, but I don't know, who knows? So we would love to entertain that, but we'd at least ask that you at least 470. What we will do is as we stated earlier, with all the numbers that we have now, we're looking to try to have a tax rate of $225.3 in Dover and $1.527 in Wardsboro. If you remember, we've had a lot of discussions on this in the past. You do set the expenditure budget, but you don't set the assessments, or you don't set a tax rate. The state of Vermont actually takes all our numbers and takes everybody's numbers, and they put them into their pot, and they come up and they set the tax rate for the town, and they just send it to Marco and to, I'm not sure who the treasurer is in Wardsboro, and that's what they send out. So again, what we would do is shoot for those tax rates. We get as close as we can. If it winds up being that we only need 400,000 to do that, that's all we'll take out and put it towards it, and then that leaves us that extra money for next year to go on and fight again another day.
Right, so the chair has asked if there is anyone willing to make a friendly amendment to change the 470,000 figure to 500,000. Is there anyone who's willing to?
Alan Block, I move to amend Article 10 to read, shall the voters of River Valley Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $500,000.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that?
Lindsay Campbell, I second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Any questions? All right, so first we're going to vote on the amendment. So the amendment is, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $500,000? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now our main amendment will read the same. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $500,000? Is there anyone who wishes to I know this seems redundant, but this is how Robert's Rules likes it done. Is there anyone who wishes to comment or question that? All right, so we are going to vote on Article 10. I'm going to say it again. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $500,000? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Article 11, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District direct the school board to continue offering the IB program Focus in the Dover building? May I have a motion?
I'll do it again.
Thank you.
Kendra Urquhart, shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District direct the school board to continue offering the IB program Focus in the Dover building?
And do I have a second?
Second.
Could I have your name?
Jonathan Gainer.
Jonathan?
Gainer.
Gainer, thank you. All right, and I understand that we have
Presentation.
a presentation about the IB program, so we're going to.
If you look in your book on, or your pamphlets, page 27 has some information.
There's also packets over
And there's extra packets over on the table that, we did form a committee to look at the IB program, and Kate and Meredith served on that, so they're gonna run you through this and give you a nice little presentation.
We want to dim the lights just slightly so people can see it better.
You want me to get those
It's warming up.
project this way? That's what the people in the back are looking directly into the fan.
Oh, those lights?
Sure, just turn off the top one. Yeah. Andy's on it. Perfect.
Good.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking.
No, those top lights, Andy, those are direct in people's eyes, she's saying.
Okay.
Can you guys see?
Yeah, no one can see us. So. Because the voters brought in IB, we decided the voters should be the ones that make the decision about the program and the future of it. To that end, the board appointed a committee including parents, teachers, administrators, and board members. And after several meetings and the receipt of 29 responses to a survey you all received, Kate and I were asked to report our findings to you for a few different reasons. One, so you can understand what the IB program is. Two, to give it some background on why we are considering this article. And three, so you can understand our process and so you can be properly informed on the IB program results before voting.
So pretty much you guys can all read, but we'll just kind of give you a quick synopsis. This educational framework is designed for students ages 3 to 12. It's currently used in approximately 650 primary schools in North America. And it centers in on the learner profile of the students. And it wants the students to be inquirers, thinkers, and communicators who are principled, open-minded, caring, balanced, and reflective. The framework was meant to be used as a cross-curricular study, including all subject areas and explored throughout the day. The IB units have been designed on 6 basic themes: who we are in place and time, how we express ourselves, how the world works, and how we organize ourselves, and sharing the planet. So those are the tenets and the principles of what IB is.
We have IB because Bill Anton, who was our previous superintendent, proposed the program to the board, and once the board had approved it at the time, he presented it to the teaching staff, who agreed that it was a good match for the current program that they were involved in at the school.
As principal,
As principal,
not as superintendent.
not as superintendent. The program was then, after the staff agreed to it, the program was brought to the voters who approved it. And it brought, it has international prestige, which has brand appeal and serves as a magnet for families with young children. It helps students to develop global awareness and citizenship. And it also encourages students to take ownership of their learning and feel empowered to make meaningful choices.
So one of the important things to know is that like how IB is structured and how teachers make the IB's program and the curriculum successful and work. It is not a curriculum that comes out of a box. It is a curriculum that requires significant teacher training, ongoing support, and programming from the IB organization. The IB organization provides ongoing assessment and continuing education as required by the program for the teachers and the school program. So it's an ongoing assessment. The River Valley Unified School District Board and the community were repeatedly assured that the new curriculum of EL that was adopted 2 years ago, I believe, and IB could work together and would be complements to each other before the WCSU board approved the EL program. The IB organization evaluates if we've met all the components of the authorized to be and to be reauthorized on an ongoing basis. And so one of the things that we've learned in the last little bit is that IB and EL, while they can work together, it is a significant amount of work to make them work together.
So then we kind of focused on how the implementation went and what went right and what kind of made it more difficult. It was promoted extensively and attracted new families when it began. And originally it allowed and supported flexibility in curriculum design, which is how things were being taught at the time. They had a lot more flexibility in their lesson plans as well. It integrated report cards and projects and other outward-facing student activities, including family participation. And then there were COVID interruptions, which interrupted teacher training continuity. IB canceled in-person training and limited contact with IB staff and coordinators in the program. The two previous principals and the previous superintendent were dedicated to the implementation of IB, but with two complete post-COVID administration changes and the SU-wide adoption of the new curriculum, the AL program, it presented significant challenges to maintaining the IB program.
So could the IB program be implemented in a way to meet the original intent? It would require reauthorization. IB is a program that it has ongoing assessments. You don't just sign up for the IB program and you're always certified. It's an ongoing work to keep your certification in IB. The planning, it does need dedicated time to design the curricula that the SU is currently using with EL. To make that work and to refine the lesson plans. And it does require teacher and administration feedback. So based on let me repeat that. Teacher and administration feedback, the teachers do not believe it's feasible to properly implement IB along with EL without quite a bit of work. The IB's transdisciplinary themes have changed since the units of studies were last used by the schools. For the funding, it would require some reauthorization and some training for the team. The support, trained IB staff coordinators and mentors, and then external supports. Dover status is the only PYP IB school in southern Vermont, or in Vermont, means less opportunity for collaboration and support with other Vermont schools.
So this is the beginning of the survey data that we received. There were 29 responses from parents and caregivers, staff, and then, there were 29 from parents and caregivers, 5 responses from school staff, and 5 from community and school board members. We asked how many people moved to Dover for the IB program. 12 parents and caregivers said yes. 7 said no, and 10 responded that they did not choose residence based on the school.
So when Faced with the question, what are the important aspects of education? The most important aspects of education based on a scale of 1 to 5 had mathematics and literacy, both at 4.79, vertical alignment on 4.42, cross-cultural connections, 4.34, inquiry-based learning, 4.3, service learning, 4.29, global citizenship, 4.18, mastery of standards, 4.16, and then summative assessments would be 3.97, and learner attributes would be 3.76.
We also asked how much does IB set Dover apart? 14 responded positively, in support of IB, and they think that it makes Dover unique. 9 responses were neutral or stated it depends on how it is implemented, if it's effective. 5 viewed it as negative for various reasons, such as cost, lack of community knowledge of IB, district requirements, or other curriculum fitting the needs of the kids. And then 5 people did not respond to the question.
So with the program value, this question was answered by 39 of the 39 people who took the survey. 13 people rated the program a 6, which was the highest value on the scale, and 11 of those respondents of the 13 were parents, 1 was a community member, and 1 was labeled as other. 7 people rated the program a 5, and of that 7, 6 were parents and 1 was other. 4 people rated the program a 4, 3 parents, 1 other. 5 parents rated it, 5 rated it a 3, 2 parents, 1 community member, and 2 others. 3 people rated it a 2, 2 of those being parents and 1 being other. And 7 people rated the program a 1, 5 being parents and 2 being community members.
We asked how likely it is that your child will pursue IB education after they graduate from Dover School, which is more difficult with there not being a theater school for them to go into, but we had 29 total parents and caregivers answer the question. 6 parents rated it a 6 at the top, 4 rated it a 5, 1 parent rated it a 1, 1 parent rated it a 3, 3 parents rated it a 2, and 14 parents rated it a 1.
So and we also had some representative comments here. And if you are interested in further comments, they are all posted on the SU website. 5 parents and caregivers and 2 school staff commented and said they wanted to keep IB and were clear about why they think it's beneficial. So these are just basic summaries, but 2 parents and caregivers, 1 school staff, and 1 community member said they wanted to get rid of IB altogether. 3 parents and caregivers and 1 school staff commented on the need for more parent and community information. 2 parents said if IB was discontinued, the school would need to implement STEAM or another program to stand out in the region and attract new families.
1 parent and 1 community member said they trusted the teachers and the staff to know what's best for the school. 1 parent specifically stated their intent to rethink sending their young kids if IB was removed. There were individual comments that IB was much better before, hadn't been properly implemented for a few years. There's a lack of proper training for IB teachers and staff, and the cost of the program per pupil is insignificant. District requirements got in the way of IB, and the school has not been committing to IB, and there is a lack of understanding of what IB is and how it works. 2 comments asked for the school to focus on training teachers regardless of the program.
So we bring Article 11 forward to you because the voters of Dover essentially decided to implement the IB program, and if we make a change to it, we felt as the board that the voters should have a voice.
First, I'm gonna turn the lights on.
Thank you.
So we're gonna raise up the lights and then we're gonna.
Yeah. Great,
So
thank you.
just before we entertain questions, I'm the last board member from Dover that was on the board when we approved the IB. It wasn't like it was presented to us and we said, yeah, let's do it. It was a 2 or 3 year process before we even brought it to the voters. We did bring it to the voters. It's been a really good program, but like a lot of other things, times change and things change and people change. I did, because it was presented 5 different times on the EL program, which is our new curriculum for language arts. No? I'm sorry. Oh, no, that's fine. But like I said, it's been a rough day. So there's been, I asked, is this gonna be compatible with IB? One of the reasons we brought IB when Bill Antone presented it was because it did, I think, Laura, you were on the board with IB. Yeah. I think what we had was, there was some discussion that IB was based on the same framework that Vermont had for its education, for its curriculum, so it made a lot of sense. That has since changed. The other thing is we were hoping there would be other IB schools. We were the first primary IB school in the state of Vermont. So one of the things that has been really difficult is that for our staff to have help or input or to collaborate. Collaborate, I'm sorry. They can't, it's not like they can go to Newfane or Townsend or somewhere local. The EL program has offered that to our staff, and it's been supported by the district, so there is a lot of support for that too. So it is a really tough decision, and that's why the board is not making a recommendation that you approve it or you disapprove it. We just want to make sure that it wasn't just dropped on us and say, hey, let's get rid of the IB program. And the thing that really hooked me on the IB program, we actually had discussions right after Bill Anton left as a board with our incoming principal, Matt Martin, when he'd been here for a year. And we said, this IB was somebody else's kind of project, and it just kind of got dumped on you because it was here. Are you okay with that? And he said, when I first came in, I wasn't sure, but after a year, the program, it really worked well, and I'm really appreciative of it, and I don't think we should do away with it. But unfortunately, COVID hit, and things have just never been the same, and probably will never be the same after COVID. So just please think about it, and let's have some good, robust discussion, and whatever you all decide, as always, we will do what you ask us to do.
Okay, so I suspect there's gonna be a few people who wanna talk. I'm just gonna let you know up front. Everybody's gonna get a chance to speak first, and then we will go back. So if you have a second comment, you're gonna have to wait until everyone's had an opportunity to speak. I'm not just ignoring you. And please give your name and stand up when you speak.
Janet Rivers, I just wanted to note that on page 28 in the summary of all of this, it is presenting IB and EL as an either-or situation. And that is not what the school is dealing with. The school is the district, it is EL, that is what they are doing. That is not the school's choice. IB is in addition to what is already has to be there. So that summary is a little misleading, and I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Ms. Spector, I have a couple of questions. First of all, what is the cost of the IB program? And second, Matt was very supportive of the program of IB. What is the current administration's feeling about the IB program?
So,
could you repeat your name?
Liz Spector.
Thank you.
So it's hard to say what the cost is because there's a lot of different parts of it in different parts of the budget, but it's probably $30,000 to $50,000 a year, depending on the training. We did lose a lot of our IB trained staff during COVID, and during the we've had some transition in staff. So it's hard to give you an exact number because some of the professional development covers both, or it might cover other topics. And I think your second question was, I'm sorry.
Current administration's opinion.
Oh, the current administration did serve on the committee, and I would never speak to put words in her mouth. Did she have a comment? I don't.
She was part of this presentation.
Yeah.
Kendra Urquhart. I just had a few questions. And could you clarify, the teacher and administration feedback slide said that they did not think it was feasible, and you had added in without quite a bit of work. I was just wondering, is it one way or the other? Like, is it just more work to make it EL and IB work together, or is their opinion that it is not feasible? Also, I was wondering if all of the parents, I completed it, so not really clarification, but more of like a thought. The parents, there's no way to know whether or not they're representing one family. So it just is, a data issue for me that 12 parents may actually seem like a large support, but it may actually represent only 6 families. And then also,
Okay, let's let her finish, and then we can respond.
okay, so I guess it is clarified.
Okay.
And then, also, so you can clarify, was there, since there is no further path for IB education in the area, the 6 people who said they did plan to pursue it, to me, that represents people who are going to leave our school area, and that just seems kind of to negate the point that it's attracting families to the area, because they're just stopping in, basically, rather than putting down roots and investing in our community. So those are all my comments for now.
Okay, would you like to?
Sure. So as far as the continuing education, they can continue on at Floodbrook, just not right away. So that was more, wait,
Floodbrook or
Montreal. Sorry, I get the two confused every day.
Could you say that again? It got a little garbled for a second.
Long Trail does offer an IB program, and there are other schools that do offer it, so there are options. As far as the survey goes, those were individual people. It wasn't people filling it out for their child. It was people filling it out as individuals.
Right, that's what I said. Can I clarify what I said?
Can I clarify what I think you said?
Yeah.
Okay. What she's saying is, if there were 12 people who responded, did that represent 12 unique families? Or could it potentially have represented 6 families with 2 parents within one family answering separately?
I don't believe so.
Great question, and I don't think that we could drill that deep into the respondents because it was an anonymous survey.
So then it does stand as not a clarification question, but something for everyone to think of when considering those survey results.
And what else did you ask?
You wanted to, you had a question on the comment on so pretty much the SU has adopted the EL curriculum. So we're moving forward with EL. To do IB, IB has requirements that would be in addition to what EL has. So it would be, right now, they have to do the EL work. And to do IB work on top of that, it would be additional.
But it can be integrated. It's an ask. It's a lot more time and training and.
Okay, so clarify what you said.
I'm gonna ask you to hold your thought, make a note. I'm gonna let other people talk and we'll come back to you, okay? Yeah.
Tennille Cutler.
So people can hear you better. Stand up.
I'm like, stand up or speak up?
Stand up. And stand up, definitely.
So would this be this coming school year that they would potentially, if this got voted to drop it, this coming school year, they would drop the IB curriculum?
That's a great question. So essentially this year, the program is on a pause.
Okay.
Because.
Like this coming school year?
No, this current.
Right now.
Right now it's paused. Yep.
Okay. And then I was pretty involved when we were talking about the merge and we were coming up with the focus for Wardsboro and we landed on STEAM, which I think is fantastic. So has there been talk about what, would it just be EL, which P.S. I don't know what that is. But would there be something like where Wardsboro has STEAM, there'd be something to replace the IB that could be potentially just as enticing, because I think STEAM is really enticing. Is there something that's not STEAM that could be also luring in, that's not all of the work and cost of IB?
So your first answer is page 27, EL's exploratory.
Expeditionary learning, which
Thank
is a
you.
comprehensive K-8 language arts curriculum based in the science of reading and designed to be rich in content. The curriculum integrates literacy skills with science and social studies and works to develop critical thinking skills. The focus is to build students' capacity for achievement through the mastery of knowledge and skills, character, and high-quality student work.
That sounds almost like the IB description.
Yeah, a little different. And also, no, we have not had any of those discussions yet because it was really not a moot point. And as we stated earlier, we want to be unique because we don't want to throw anything out for the state to say, you guys, as the way the crow flies, you're really close. Let's just make one school.
No, I agree with that, so thank you.
Okay. I haven't forgotten you, but is there anybody else? Okay, actually, you had your hand up first.
I have a statement I'd like to read.
Absolutely. Could you stand up and state your name? I understand maybe you're not feeling great. Would you like someone else to read it for you?
I'll try to get through it. I can.
Okay, fine. Could we get your name?
My name is Laura Maturo.
Thank you.
I apologize, I'm here one day after a very extensive nasal and sinus surgery because this really does mean that much to my family. I really don't want to have to go back to the drawing board fighting to keep a program that really helps my special needs child. She already loves the IB program. We've done it for 2 years. This year it's taken a break and we've noticed a big change in her ability in the classroom. My family moved here in part because of the Dover School offered the IB program. It made the school very attractive to us, and I know we're not the only family that looks at programs like this when deciding where to live and where to send our children. With Vermont redistricting already creating uncertainty, this is exactly the wrong time to remove one of the things that makes Dover stand out. For my neurodivergent child, IB has been a huge part of her success. It's helped her become a stronger thinker, a more confident learner, and a student who feels engaged instead of left behind. That matters even more for special education students who are often the first to struggle when schools move towards a rigid, one-size-fits-all model. I want to be clear that we respect our teachers. We know this training is intensive, and we know it asks a lot of them. But we firmly believe it benefits them too because it gives them stronger tools to reach more students, especially the neurodivergent, in more effective ways. And more importantly, it benefits the children they are trying to teach every single day. What's more upsetting is that we are now also putting a price point and a training timeline on children's education. That's not okay. We should not be measuring whether students get a program that helps them succeed based on whether adult training takes time or costs money. If this program is helping children learn better, especially children with different learning needs, then that should be the priority and not a price point. What's especially frustrating is that IB and EL were already both here. It does not feel like there's a full, serious effect to integrate them before going to remove IB. Rather than doing the hard work of seeing how these models can complement each other and better serve students together, it feels like one is being discarded too quickly without understanding the impact to students. We've heard concerns from leadership about how redistricting could also impact the students. And if that concern is real, then protecting programs that attract families and support diverse learners should be a priority. Cutting IB does the opposite. It makes Dover less attractive, less distinctive, and less supportive of the very students who need the most thoughtful educational options. IB is not extra. For some of our children, it's part of the reason they aren't succeeding. Taking it away would be a huge mistake and a huge disservice, especially to those who are already struggling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy Capitano. Oh, wait, I don't want to steal her moment.
You already did it.
Two questions about finances. I just want to make sure I understand this. We're really not voting to save any money in this current fiscal year budget because that cost is already baked into the budget and it will stay there whether IB continues or not.
But it won't be spent.
I understand
So it'll
that,
come in
but-
as a
But it
surplus.
does not affect the current or coming year tax rate because the money is already baked into the budget.
Correct.
And is there a cost for the EL program to the district back to the supervisory union? And if so, is that in the budget somewhere? Do we have a number?
That's in the supervisory union budget.
So we do pay that, and we will pay that whether or not we're using it or not in Dover.
Yeah. And if I could, we didn't get a chance to respond. Thank you for that. And it looks like it's not a comfortable day for you, so we appreciate that. One of the things, I just want to go back to the February 28, 2025 letter that the staff wrote to us, even though several of them are no longer here. Just because we're not going to be, one of their requests was not that we abandon everything we learned on IB, it was to allow the staff to incorporate it was to allow the staff to incorporate what they've learned from IB, but not be an official IB school. And there's a lot of things that I think some of the stuff, from what I understand, please understand I'm not a teacher, And but I have stayed at Holiday Inn once. So, but there's a lot of things that they will still incorporate. And I just want to, in the third paragraph of the letter, because somebody asked, and I keep a lot of paper, but it says, I'm going to have to find the right thing. With the proposal, the community and families can trust teachers to continue to implement rich inquiry-based experiences and learning without spending, and I don't know if I agree with it, exorbitant amount to belong to international baccalaureate world schools. IB professional development, total management systems, and the cost of IB coordinators. With these savings, teachers will continue to foster the same learning attributes and dispositions that are important to IB without the expense and without having to, dot all the IB I's and cross their T's. So it's not that if you were not to vote for this, it's not that they're going to abandon whatever they've learned from their IB training, and they do share that amongst the staff.
Hi, Lizzie Campbell. My only question is, with so much turnover, how many of the staff still have that training? If there's been so much turnover, how does that training continue to be used if none of those teachers that went through that training are still there?
I believe we still have, and one of the teachers can correct me, I think there's still 3 to 4 of the primary teachers. Somebody want to help me?
That's Tracy.
Huh?
Tracy was trained too.
Yeah, our administrator was one of the people trained, and the lady, I'm sorry, in the back, you always have, Rivers, you always have answers.
Yeah. Oh, well,
The consensus
we have,
is maybe 5.
okay, so we have 3.
4 teachers and then the administration was trained.
So 5.
But I would like to say that the letter was signed, but all but 1, right?
Well, the letter was also signed by people who are no longer there. So, I mean,
No, but I'm
it's-
saying, within the question, it's
No,
relevant.
that wasn't the question.
Okay.
The question was how many are trained. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, do your job.
So,
I'm gonna go to my corner.
okay, good boy. So the question is, of the staff that currently exists at the school,
Yeah.
how many are trained in the IB program?
And we believe that it's down to
4 and an administrator.
4 and 1 administrator.
So 4 classroom teachers and 1 administrator.
Yes. And no one.
What do you mean, how many total?
But all but 1.
Oh, what, and the total number of teachers in the school building is?
But you're counting of Jessica, who's a Spanish, that's unified arts, right?
No, Crystal, Lindsay, Ashley,
Sixth
Bridget.
grade.
We're doing some math.
Yeah, 6, 7, yeah, pre-K.
There's 7 classroom teachers.
So there's 7 classroom teachers, 3 of whom? 4 of whom are IB trained,
And 1
plus 1 administrator. Is that?
plus the Spanish.
But the Spanish teacher is not IB trained.
Yes.
The Spanish teacher is IB trained. Okay, apologies. All right,
Can I come back?
you can come back now.
Thank you.
So we were answering somebody's question and I've lost track of whose it was. Oh, sorry.
It was, yeah, my question was just with how much, and I don't have a track of all of it, but my question just was, how do we continue to pass along that information as there is turnover if we aren't continuing the same training? Because a new teacher comes in and replaces someone who was trained, how are we ensuring that the next teacher has that same information and is able to support our children in that with those same tools?
So what we would do is, because it's been on hold and because we do respect our staff and they had asked us to look into this 2 years ago, we don't require that for right now to hire staff. But if the vote tonight is to continue with IB, then we would obviously direct our administration, we would direct the superintendent to direct the administrator that would have to start occurring, and then the staff would have to get to take the training. And she would have to make arrangements to get them trained.
Right, sorry. My comment was more in response to the letter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or I think it was to the letter saying that we don't need to continue training in IB.
No.
Because that will still be implemented. We don't need, no? Is my
No,
misunderstanding the letter?
the letter stated that just because it's not an IB official program, those strategies and those lessons that they learn from the IB will still be implemented by our staff. Families can trust teachers to continue and implement rich, inquiry-based experiences of learning without spending the amount to belong to the IB World Schools program. That was exactly that's word for word.
Okay. I didn't forget you, don't worry. I still have hands up over here. Sir, could you stand up and state your name?
My name is John Tricated. I don't see anyone answering her question. And the question is a simple question.
Yeah.
If there's a big turnover of teachers who may have been trained through this program, so how do we know there are sufficient teachers left who know this program and the program can really continue to its benefit without retraining new teachers or even old teachers who haven't been doing the program? And I don't think anyone's answered her question. They talk about teacher turnover, but they don't say specifically that there hasn't been a big enough turnover, so we have sufficient teachers, or we don't have sufficient teachers to teach this program. And then the second thing is nobody's really answered as to the value of the program. If the program is really valuable, then why don't we continue it? If it's not so valuable, then why continue it? And no one sort of answered that question, which I think is a basic question.
Okay, I'm gonna let him respond.
So I think we've discovered there was 5 teachers,
Four
four
teachers,
teachers
one
and then 1 administrator. It's a direct 4 and 1 administrator. And also that your second question was, or I had answered, I said we will direct, if you vote to continue using the IB program, we will direct our superintendent, who supervises the building administrator, to make that a requirement for the staff and implement that program.
So
If I could restate your question, is one of the points made was we don't necessarily need IB training to continue providing the IB program because we have trained staff. However, if we have lost a certain percentage of staff that are trained, so not 100% of the teachers still in the school are trained, and in theory, that percentage could drop as teachers leave. Will we in fact be offering an unsupported IB program in the school where we have the faculty capacity to do that? Is that your question?
That's my question.
Okay.
I think I've answered it. So yes.
I don't think you've answered.
What we have. So
I don't think you can tell him whether he answered it or not. You can say you don't agree with his answer or you don't understand his answer, but you can't say he didn't.
Okay.
Okay? Not fair. Okay, no problem. You've already spoken.
Deirdre Benson. I guess my question would be, is there, for the kids to graduate with an IB, right, it's on pause this year. My daughter graduated with an IB certificate. Is there a percentage that is needed of trained teachers for children to then graduate with an IB certificate to move on to another program, saying that they had that?
as far as I've been ever told, you may know different, that you can start in the IB program in whatever grade, whenever you go to school. Obviously, a lot of our students came into the school after they entered their educational career, so they may have come in first, fourth, fifth, or sixth grade. And I think, again, one of the reasons it wasn't brought up that Bill Antone presented this to us was because it's based on the program that the Foreign Service uses. So this is what like military families go through if you're in a different countries, and it was to have some consistency. So if you were on a base in Germany one year and then you went to Italy and wherever else, that was part of the reason for the program. It was a very good curriculum, and at that time we didn't have any standardized curriculums. We just had a framework. So I think, yes, they can move in and out of it, and if obviously, the staff would have to be trained, those that aren't, and those that are trained would have to be updated. And we would have to direct our administrator from now on, when they hired staff, that they would have to understand that it would be required that they're gonna become IB certified at some point.
And could you stand up and give your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Corey Payan. I have a question about, let me think about this, how I want to say it. So somebody had mentioned there's a STEAM program at Wardsboro, and then another part of this is that this isn't meant to say that if IB comes out, that EL takes over, right, that they're disconnected or connected. We're not saying one or the other. But so with that background, my question is, if we vote to have IB removed, who would be responsible for setting up or deciding on if there should be another replacement program or another replacement education style? And how long would that discovery and process take? Because it sounds like there are some people here that were part of putting IB in the first place that was maybe a 3 to 5 year process. And now if it comes out, then it sounds like it could be a longer process to put something else in. And then what would we have as a patch in that time? Because of a lot of our kids that are maybe halfway through their elementary education, would they even benefit from a new STEAM program or something like that if it came up?
So the reason IB took a while is because it was kind of different, and we wanted to present it to the voters, and we wanted to research. We asked our staff to go to some IB primary schools to see what the program was like, so to see if they would buy into it. And I'm sorry, I can't see you, but so it was a long process because of that, and it was not a canned box program that you buy like the EL was. So it shouldn't take as long to do a second focus. If we were to decide, if you were folks tonight were to say we're not going to do the IB anymore, then what we would do is we would form a group of people. We would have some staff and parents and board members, and we would look into, much like we did in Wardsboro. I think we had 5 programs we looked at in Wardsboro, and we got input from parents. And I think that whole process took about a year, Dwight. And then unfortunately with STEAM, there isn't like a STEAM program either. There's not a certification. It's not like the EL program, and it's not like IB. And I don't remember, I bet you would, or somebody else would. I can't remember what the other programs you looked at, but there were several, and we would do that again. We would start kind of from scratch with y'all.
Okay. Oh. All right, your name?
Ann Dwayne.
Would you stand up, please, Ann?
Sure. I was just curious if we are at risk of losing teachers if we keep both programs. I don't know if there's a sentiment among the teachers, because it requires a lot of work to implement both programs, and that, being compensated for all this extra work, if you have to run 2 separate programs, is a lot to ask of teachers, just in general. And so I don't know if there's sentiment among the teachers of whether or not they will stick around for that. I don't know the answer to that. I was just curious if there's, from that letter, is that like, hey, this is really hard and not something we want to be part of because it is a lot of extra work and time.
Okay. Do we have any feedback?
I will tell you that when we started the IB originally, we lost some teachers. Teachers did not want to do it. We had one teacher who's very close to retirement and just decided to retire. We lose teachers anyways. It is more work. That's one of the reasons the staff wrote the letters. And the EL program has other support. As I said earlier, they can go to other schools in the district. They have help. The IB, they're kind of out on their own. So again, I don't know if we decide not to have IB, we could still lose staff anyways. It's really hard to say.
No, excuse me. I've already made 2 people stop, so I can't show favoritism. You had your hand up?
Oh, yeah, Liz Lazzarella. You were saying 4 teachers and 1 administrator, but that's out of how many total? Is that like 50% or 25%?
Did we say 7?
7 classroom teachers. Okay, and I was just asking because does IB have a requirement? If they're giving their program to a school, do they have a requirement of the staff
Yeah,
percentages?
the staff has to be trained and they have to meet certain. Well, we would, yeah, we obviously understand that staff is gonna leave and new staff's gonna come in, but yes, eventually we need everybody into a program, and it's not something that you take a class and you're all done. You also have to design programs, they have to be approved. Every several years, there's a reauthorization that they come down and, look at your program and what you're doing, and they talk to the staff. We're actually in that period. That's why we put a pause on it, so that the staff didn't have to worry about that, and especially while they're starting to implement the EL. But yes, there are requirements, and that's one of the issues that brought this up.
Okay. Bridget.
Bridget Cole, can I clarify the training?
I think that would be helpful.
Well, many of us have been professionally trained, whether it's been online or in person. We have the IB coordinators at school, and they do offer professional development during our ski days every afternoon on Thursdays. We had professional development where the IB coordinators helped train the staff that had not been able to be professionally trained. The online training is okay. The in-person training is vastly different and much better. It's also available in very few places. Florida is being the closest one, so therefore not many of us have had the luxury of in-house training.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back, guys. All right, so I've been taking my notes. I'm Kendra Urquhart, very opinionated. So one of the things is, I know from reading and rereading the original letter that it does mention in there that when IB was developed, the strategies were really new and not yet considered mainstream or best practice. But in today's education world, the strategies that IB brings to the table in terms of teaching are just what good teachers do now. It is the best practices. So you don't necessarily need specific IB training in order to have learned those skills. Your education as a teacher at this point, especially people who are coming in new to the field, is going to have really focused on that as well, in my understanding. It's also, it's so hard to really make the clear differentiation, because EL is just a curriculum, like many other curriculums our school currently uses. Bridges, Foundations, and Conscious Discipline come to mind for me. It just happens to be the specific curriculum that's most at odds with what IB requires, because the curriculum that it butts heads against the most. It's also the newest curriculum, and it's also just kind of a little like, you said it was gonna work. It's not really working, which is why I was really concerned with making sure we were extremely clear on the slide where, because I know that the feedback, the slides were done in conjunction with the administration and teachers, and I want to make sure it's very clearly represented of whether or not they feel it is not feasible to do both, or if it is not feasible without a lot of work. Their specific opinion is represented, which I know is something another person was looking to kind of get a sense of as well. And I wasn't aware of Floodbrook and Long Trail as
just Long Trail.
I just get the two confused. It's not helping you any, because according to the book, the estimated amount of students planning to go there is only 2 or 1. Is it 1?
It's higher now.
It's higher now. But my understanding, just personally, outside of this book, is that a lot of those people aren't coming from the Dover school that are making that choice. So then that doesn't really lend a lot to the fact that people who've gone through our primary years IB program are going on to consider it a path that they are going to continue taking. So to me, the survey results still really imply that the families that are moving here, unless their opinions change once they're here, if they're continuing on an IB program, they're not, they're just stopping over here. which is great. We love them. I mean, Mount Snow, like, we're great. But I just worry that if we are building our community based on what somebody who is just stopping in for a moment in their life, admittedly stopping in for a moment in their life, if that's the best plan for us. And that concludes my comments for now.
Thank you. Did you?
I have one already.
Okay.
I've had 0.
Oh, I didn't know your hand was up. Okay, sorry. Oh, Alan jumped the line.
I have a question.
Please
and then,
stand up and speak.
Oh, sorry, Alan Block. I have a question and then a comment. When we put IB on pause for this year, did that mean that we were still paying them license fees and training fees and all these 44,000? That's the number sticking in my head. $40,000 worth of service fees?
Not that I understand.
Okay.
We also didn't pay the we didn't pay the coordinators. We still paid the bump that we gave staff who was certified though.
Okay. All right. My comment, I'll address all you guys. I was an IB student in elementary school, and then I wasn't in middle school, and then I was in high school. I didn't really know what it was, and the IB that they had in elementary school when I was a kid was really just focused on international schools. So it was language, it was culture, it was history at a very young age, and sort of trying to understand how the world worked. It's continued along that vein, and that's, my understanding is that's really what it offers. But just to sort of address Kendra, like, it doesn't mean I'm like looking to go straight to an IB middle school, but Middlebury High School has IB, like there's other schools in Vermont that at a high school, there's 1,800 or whatever IB high schools in the country. There are colleges that will accept IB credits, which is what I did. I had IB classes in my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and that actually translated into 9 credits when I started college that were accepted right off the bat. So I had a leg up in college too, and I spoke languages. So I found it to be really, really valuable. I think it's a great program. When we started here with Joey in kindergarten, like it was a noticeable part of the program, and just like Laura said, like she ate it up, and I think it's a great program. It was one of the reasons we moved here. We looked at Long Trail too, but seeing that logo on the school website was like, when we're COVID, we're driving through towns in southern Vermont and looking at it, and that was one of the, we looked at it, we said, oh, because I knew it, and I knew it was good, I was at all those meetings that Rich talked about when the whole room was promised over and over and over again that they would work together, because we kept asking the question, because we were all skeptical. So we kept asking the question, and it was promised that it would. And so it's still puzzling to me why it hasn't. And I still don't understand it. Whether to keep it if the teachers don't believe they can, like I'm not one to tell you how to teach. If you don't think you can do it, then maybe you can't do it. But I'm concerned that IB said you could, EL said you could, the superintendent said you could, the principal said you could, and now you can't. I don't understand that. And it just, I keep going over it in my head. Yes, the situation's changed. Yes, COVID, but this is all after COVID. This is 2 years ago. We were talking about this. I would love to see a discussion before this that says, let's commit to this, or let's set a committee up to figure out what else to do. Because if not, then it's another year of sort of this vague promise to, we're going to incorporate stuff that we learned 4 years ago. Like how long is that really going to go on for? I'm a little wayward with my comments, but it's not comfortable. Like I don't think we were lied to. I don't think that's this kind of place. But I just feel like either someone or a group or the IB program failed at doing what they promised they would do, and we should either rectify that or abandon it and find something else. I don't have an answer. I don't know how I feel. I do know that the IB program, when done right, is really good. It's got a great reputation for good reasons. I mean, I spoke 2 languages fluently before I was 16, and that's all because of that, you know, so, that's all.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay.
2/3.
2/3 vote to call the question. All in favor of calling the question, please raise your hand. Would you count this side?
Want to explain that, Sarah?
Okay, so,
Excuse me,
I'm
folks.
sorry, I forgot,
Excuse me.
I failed. Calling the question means we end discussion and we vote. So if you are in favor of ending discussion and having the vote, please raise your hand and keep it up until either Andy or Rich has told you to put your hand down.
Richie, I'll do it.
You'll do all of them?
So, if you're in favor of calling the question, raise your hand until I point at you, and then put your hand down. Okay? All right.
You guys gotta pay attention.
All right, we got 29.
How many total people?
Somebody keep track of that. We're gonna go with,
I've got 41 here.
some are not voters.
I skipped them.
Okay, all right. And so 2/3 voting or 2/3 present?
2/3 present, because it's the whole, because you haven't asked people who don't want to call.
Exactly. So is it 2/3 of the total voting or 2/3 present?
It's
I think
2/3
it's,
present.
So non-voters?
So,
I don't
No,
think
no,
so.
Not voting members, we're only counting, it's only 2/3 of those who have the ability to vote.
right, I skipped the people who are
I don't
not
know about that, but we'll go with it.
Well, then you need to ask people who vote against it.
The moderator,
Okay,
All right,
so
so-
do we want to ask how many people are voting against it?
that's my question.
Okay, they're voting against.
Calling the
Calling the question. So there are, the reason, okay, I know it seems like it would logically be just 41 minus 29, but there may be some people who do not wish to vote on this. So we need to count the number of people who do not want to call the question. And then we will we'll math it, and we'll figure out if we're gonna keep going or not. So anyone who is not want to call the question. I'm sorry?
Some people didn't know abstaining was an option.
Was what?
Abstaining was an
So do you
option.
want to start over?
I'm just letting you know.
Okay, all right, let me, all right. Could everyone please, just for a second, I apologize that I did not clarify that better. I was operating a little bit out of ignorance myself. So, let me ask this, we're going to start over,
Okay,
okay? If you have 3 options, okay? You can vote to call the question, which means we end discussion and we vote. You can vote to not call the question, meaning you want us to continue discussion. Or you can abstain, meaning you don't have an opinion one way or the other. All right?
On calling the question. We're not.
On calling the question, we're not voting on the motion. This is just about calling the question, okay? Is there anybody who's not clear about what I just said? Because I've messed it up twice now, so let me make sure I got it right this time. Okay, so option 1, we're calling the question. Option 2, we're not calling the question. Option 3, I don't have an opinion. All right? So, would everyone who is interested in everyone who is voting to call the question, please raise your hand and keep your hand up until Andy points at you.
I just told him we can. two over there.
And that number was?
32.
32. And now, anyone who does not want to call the question, please raise your hand. Well, that makes it easy, doesn't it?
Should have done that first.
I guess so. All right, so we are calling the question. I'm sorry? Well,
Just keep your
if-
hand down.
I think the people who didn't, is there anyone who wants to abstain? All right, okay, we've got 3 abstentions. It's still a 2/3. All right, well, that was a fun exercise, wasn't it, folks? Okay, so, we have called the question.
I'd like to ask for a paper ballot, please.
All right, so a paper ballot, everyone, Andy will run around, hand out paper.
So,
Or do we? You want a paper ballot to vote on the article?
I don't know.
We need 7 people to agree.
We do, and I don't know if it's an appropriate request after calling the question. Do you know?
Calling the question is just getting it.
Right there.
So now we have the option.
You're the moderator. We'll
That's
accept your
my-
ruling.
That's my reading of it.
Okay,
tell the
so now you
voters
need to
Okay,
say.
so all we did, what we just voted on was calling the question. We had nothing to do with the article itself. We are now moving on to voting on the article. A request has been made for a paper ballot. If 7 or more people want a paper ballot, there will be a paper ballot. This is to vote on the article. So if you would like a paper ballot, please raise your hand.
You got
We've
him.
got them. Okay, so there will be a paper ballot. We're going to ask, you need back table, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Joe and Marco, I'm gonna need you to move.
So,
Could everyone stop, please? Andy's gonna explain the process, please. And I need everyone's attention.
okay, folks, so it's like a mini election, all right? And the way it's gonna work is, I'm gonna need the guys behind the tables back there, the 4 of you, to leave your seats, unfortunately, sorry. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna come out of your seats, come around here, flow like this. I'm gonna be at this end of the table. I'm gonna have checklists from Dover and Wardsboro. You're gonna give me your name. I'm gonna give you a little sheet of paper and a pencil. And you're going to vote yes or no on the article. So maybe before, when I'm done, just make sure they understand what they're voting on. Yes or no on a little piece of paper, flow along the back of the table, put it in a ballot box, big silver ballot box, and when we're all done, we'll count them up and see what we got. Yes or no on the piece of paper.
Okay, so shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District direct the school board to continue offering the IB program focus in the Dover building? So yes means IB will continue. No means it will not. Are we all clear?
Yes.
I'm not known for my clarity, just making sure. So if everybody would line up.
You don't have to vote, but you are allowed to vote. We're voters too, just like everybody else.
You can abstain if you want.
You don't have to go fill a piece of paper out to abstain.
Democracy in action, my man.
It'll get announced right now. Me too.
Hey, Heather, my kids are at Heather Sullivan's house.
No, I wanted a paper ballot
Yeah, no,
because there's a lot of people that don't think.
Yeah, no, I
feel
think
comfortable.
you're absolutely right. I fully expect this.
And I don't think we can do it after the call question, but we can call question. Right. Okay, so it's not appropriate to ask for a paper ballot. Or before you're ready.
You guys are too much talk over here.
We have pencils for you to write with, but if you have your own, please. Bring them with you. It just makes it a little easier. Okay, I think that's a pen. You can use a pen.
Wow, I thought you were
It's two teachers plus the para. Ten teachers and You've just done it all on the one under the dining table.
I take a swing,
And so I was following up.
specifically. It was just to spite you. No, they did. They said, you're gonna keep camera. What is your switch going to say?
Present yourself.
Days, cloudy period.
What do you think that you're
My water deloader.
And you can send your
Yeah, somebody stole it. I didn't see
Okay, resume.
Your grandchildren buy that sweet? Oh, you did? Oh, even
Walker's gonna get the paint on the base he was like
You need a watch like I got, all I do is talk and do it and send it. I left my phone at home, I don't need it anymore.
Would everyone please take their seats?
Yes, ma'am. Pete Barrett stole your pen.
I got it back and then I lost it. If everyone would please take their seats, Andy's going to announce the results of the vote.
Okay, so the result of the vote was yes votes 27, no votes 18, and 1 blank.
So the motion carries. Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District direct the school board to continue offering the IB program focused in the Dover building? The vote was in the affirmative. It will continue. All right. Article 12 is any other business that may legally be addressed or have an open discussion for informational purposes.
I wanted to, as I said earlier, please, this gentleman does a great job. He records most of our meetings, and he records our Wyndham Central meetings, and he also recorded this meeting in Brattleboro at the high school auditorium on Saturday. It was a little over 2 hours. Please, please, please pay attention. You guys did a great job last year with, Act 73 and the changes. You remember when they were touring their map around saying, oh, you're gonna go here and you're gonna go there, and they were making sure everybody was connected by dirt roads, because that's Randy's favorite thing.
You made it up.
You made it up.
Yeah. Anyways, they're looking for larger class sizes, governance changes before cost savings, and then they're proposing a third class of taxes, which would be a second homeowner tax. They did realize from all the good guys did last year was that forced mergers do not work. And Nodder had come to our meeting, one of our senators, he came to a meeting in Wardsboro or Dover. And he talked about forced mergers too. And he said he found a place where forced mergers worked really, really well. Does anybody know where that is?
China?
You got it. 400,000 students in one school district, so they did forced mergers. They were able to increase their class sizes. He says anywhere else he's seen forced mergers, it doesn't work. They're hoping that that's not going to happen, but they are going to do kind of like we did in Act 46. They're going to ask us to start having conversations, and it's not just schools anymore. If you remember, there was 3 schools originally in our merger group. There was Marlboro included. If you notice, Marlboro just closed their school, which there's a lot of history with Bridget there. Her dad was principal. Did you get the email I sent you guys of the class picture with your dad in there? Okay, I sent it to Bobby. Yell at Bobby. It was a really neat picture. I thought you would really appreciate it.
We can talk about this later.
But anyways.
That's a side conversation.
So, okay, I'm sorry. But anyways, pay a lot of attention, because there are a lot of huge changes, and the big one is that they're going to give us a block grant. They're going to say you have 20 students, you get $10,000 a student. You can raise locally plus 5%, no more, and you got to educate your kid for that. And guess what? We're not going to have meetings like this. Andy and I have talked for years. We love town meeting. We love that we could have a vote. We love that Alan can make an amendment. We can spend more money. We can go down. We'll never have a vote turned down, because you don't vote against it. You just amend the motion. You can't do that on a ballot vote. But what they're talking about doing is giving this block grant to this new board, and then they divvy it out. So we may be a Wyndham County board. We probably wouldn't be on it, because we probably couldn't carry the vote. But yet they would probably then say, okay, well, Wyndham County, you have $100 to spend. And, where do you think most of it's going to be spent? So please pay attention. It's going to be huge changes. If you didn't see the Act 73 changes, somebody just asked me about secondary school choice. They cut that down from an almost unlimited number to 18 of them. And it's going to keep going down. I think Burton, I think our 3 academies in the state will always be safe, but just please really pay attention. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And one of the comments that was made on Saturday that really struck home, it was all the people that wrote and called and said these maps don't work. That's one of the reasons they stopped doing it. So we did do something good last year. Yeah, maybe.
I just wanted to note, discussion got cut off, but the presentation by Kate and Meredith was fantastic, and I appreciated that. That's above and beyond on a board to put in that kind of time for our benefit, and the discussion was great, thank you.
Robust, I think is a good word.
Yeah, right?
Alan Block, I have a comment for all the parents here and really any community members. It's gonna be a lot of work for these teachers. Parents can help. You can help by being part of the school club. You can help by asking your teacher if there's anything you can do for her. You can help by asking the principal if there's anything you can do. You can help support them, and you can come to board meetings and make and force the board to really support them. Right? You don't need to force them, but to remind the board to really support them, because clearly it's not something that's easy, and we're asking a lot of them. So I would encourage everyone to just, whatever level you're involved at now, just add a level to that. If it's nothing, help out a little bit, you know? Whether it's sports, anything you can do to help. They do, you know, Meredith and the other moms run 4 or 5 fundraisers. They had they started a 5K that was Sunday that was amazing. At Mount Snow, it had 80 or 90 people running. They did it all. They whipped it up in like a month. It's phenomenal. That's when I started paying attention.
There's the truth.
And honestly, we were there. We had sound. And it was a great scene. It was a great community event. And this is the kind of thing that I think really can help the kids, the teachers, the administrators, the parents, everybody. So please do your part if you can.
Thank you, Alan. Anyone else have anything they would like to comment, discuss, order dinner?
Hey, just thanks to all of you for all that you guys do. You guys did a great job. It wasn't an easy night tonight, and thank
Sarah?
Yes.
Thank you guys for showing up, because it really matters to the kids of this community, and that we have a community. So thank you for being part of our community and showing up for the kids.
Thank you. With that, I don't see any other hands. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Oh,